Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Tom here with another presentation. We are on the north slopes of the Sheeprock Mountains, and we're going to be working from this scene right here. It was quite windy that day, so all I could really do was just a line sketch out there in the field on the paper that I intended to do the painting on. I actually had it all taped down and ready to go, but the wind was so bad all I could do was get the drawing done and had to come back to the studio to finish it up. So that's what we're doing here, getting started with that. Now, I'm working from the top down, which means that I'm turning the paper upside down so that I can work on the sky first and then come into the rest of the painting later on, but just carving out the sky now. Wet into wet, the color goes on in a very soft and very blended fashion, and that's going to help me with the sky that I'm painting. This is what I call a dirty blue. It's kind of a mixture of, let's see, I've got some cerulean, some ultramarine blue, and a little bit of quinacridone rose. And the idea is to put in kind of a grayish blue that sort of fit the tone of the day. Now, it was the middle of the day, so I had to be careful not to paint the sky too dark, but still, I wanted to create some drama or some value differences between the sunlit portion of the snow and the sky itself. So this is my first attempt, my first pass at it, and I approach it again a little later on. So this is a scene that I pretty much had to just force myself to stop at. I'd been actually driving for a couple of hours, again, trying to find something to paint. But as I stopped at this site and took a look at it long enough, I began to see the clearly visible rising peaks and the drama that I could introduce and bring into the scene. And so I stuck around to paint it, or to photograph it at least, and I'm glad that I did. This particular peak is not the tallest peak in the mountain range. The tallest peaks of the Sheeprock Mountains rise to a little over 9,000 feet. This is probably at best maybe 7,400 feet in elevation. It's just the angle that we're looking at the scene from. So a larger brush loaded with paint in one hand, then I pick up another brush and lay down the paint, and then or rather come in and begin to soften and direct the paint where I want it to go. It's usually a smaller brush loaded with water. That way I don't introduce too much water and risk creating unwanted blossoms or cauliflowers that the watercolorist can sometimes accidentally do if they're not careful, with this being such a flowing medium and all. So the color of the shadows, or the shade of the mountain, really reflects the tones and the color of the sky, and that's why I'm painting with the color that I am. It's just maybe a slightly darker version of what is in the sky, and later on you'll actually see me go in and darken that sky even just a little bit more to create the drama and the contrast that I want. Cleaning up a little extra paint and water on the edge so it doesn't accidentally spill back into the painting and create an unwanted blossom. Those kinds of things are just what a watercolor is capable of, and it's not necessarily bad. It's a matter of whether or not you want it in a particular spot. I've seen artists paint with used blossoms right in the middle of their paintings all the time, and well, that's fine. That's part of the qualities of watercolor, and that's okay. But here in this particular piece, I wanted to control for that very carefully. So again, drawing with the brush. Like I said, I'm working from top to bottom. I'm also working from light to dark. So beyond the sky, the next elements down in value from there are the shadowed side of the snowfields that are in the scene. One of the interesting things about watercolor is that you have one idea in mind, and then as you paint along, you find the watercolor sometimes dictating something else. And the kinds of unexpected patterns of strokes that you're getting may not be exactly what you want. So there's always a little bit of a compromise between artist and image and the medium in order to get what you want, so, or what you can live with. Now here I'm glazing the sky down. It may not look like much, but later on it does darken pretty well. And so it's literally just a glaze over the top of the dry sky color. I didn't go in and pre-wet it. I just started painting right into it and was able to cover the area quickly enough that I didn't have any unwanted seams in my color patterns. But there, as the sky is darker, it's starting to work a little bit better in terms of creating that contrast between earth and sky, and it helps that those snowfields on the mountain to stand out better. So now I'm going in with some darker tones, beginning to establish some of the grass and the tree patterns that were on the side of the mountain. And like I've said before, as I'm painting along here, just think of this as being no different from holding a graphite pencil or a piece of charcoal. This is drawing, it's just with a brush. And so drawing skills come into play here. It's important for any artist or aspiring artist student to understand that this is drawing skill being put into action. In the process of seeing this painting come together, you'll notice that some of my colors really don't match what the photograph is showing me. One thing the artist needs to be careful of is to know when the lens is not showing us the correct picture. That's why going out and being on location and looking at nature directly is one of the best ways to learn to paint nature and to get the lighting as correct as possible. So the painting in the end will be different value ranges than what the photograph shows, and I try to point that out towards the end of the video when you see a graphic that I've prepared for this video. So painting the patterns. Painting the patterns, that's one of the joys of painting for me, how I can come in with abstract marks that stand for something that serves as a symbol for something that feels real, but it's just paint on paper. It's just abstract in its own right. And that's the fun of it. That's the interesting dichotomy of it for me as an artist. Okay, well, I'm soon going to turn you over to the music. and let you enjoy the rest of the video. I'll see you on the other side. Well, okay, as we are coming down to the end here, I hope you can see or could see the process of how working from general to specific took place, and that you understand the concept there that I talk about quite often. So now it's just a matter of putting in a few details, and there aren't too many to put in. It's pretty close to being completed as it is, especially if I'm using that teeny brush. I'm not going to get much out of it. So as you can see, the focal point became that mountain peak and those mountainside meadows and groves of trees that were on the side of the mountain. Everything else is secondary to it. Even that foreground is secondary. Well, okay, all that's left to do is to sign the painting. Have a graphic, and you'll see in a couple of minutes where you'll be able to see what I write about the reasons why I painted this the way that I did. Hope it serves. Thanks for listening. Take care. Have a great day.